CCTV, another live update. This is about the mob rule mentality that's spreading around this kingdom, especially from the Islamist side. Unfortunately, cities and towns are falling, at least when it comes to the local councils. Let's get on with it. Alright, all you beautiful freedom fighters in the live chat, we will get your reaction live during the show. Let's talk about what's going on in Luton. Now, for about 20 years or so, Luton slowly witnessed a change in demographic. We saw the beginning, a rise of the grooming gangs and everything else that started happening across the country. Obviously, initially started in places like Luton. Now, many places. We've got Rochdale, Rotherham, Birmingham, Manchester, everything. But now, this is about the latest mob rule mentality that we've been seeing over the last few months. The pressure from the pro-Palestinian mob. Now, one of the groups that is promoting the Palestinian cause, their branch in Luton have been putting a lot of pressure on the local council, and they have a victory, guys. They said, "Dear supporters, we are very pleased to announce that Luton Borough Council has today raised the Palestinian flag on the town hall." Let's go to the video. Yeah, so that was a moment, I believe yesterday, when Luton Council decided to raise the Palestinian flag. Now, we've been talking about this a lot when it comes to different cultures. It's not really necessarily different cultures anymore. It's not like multiculturalism. This is a specific ideology that has been always very honest and straightforward, that it wants to spread it around the world, get everybody to convert, and create a one world government. It's been going on for centuries. Now, the issue with this is that back in the days, centuries ago, we had the issue of the Muslim Empire, and they had the Crusades, and it was very bloody. But now we are seeing a softer version, more democratic. So by the demographic change as a mechanism that's happening, you can actually see more people, obviously, joining local politics. Don't be surprised if a few years from now we're going to get more Islamists becoming local MPs, as well as, of course, council leaders. And then they can just democratically change laws, regulations, the constitution, everything else that we want to avoid in terms of the change, including some of the what we call the Western moderate Muslims. But they are still pretty much quiet right now. The Luton Labour Party said this: an iftar meal, which is about the Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, an iftar meal was hosted this evening by the Mayor of Luton. The Mayor of Luton is called Councillor Yaqub Hanif. In order to raise funds for Palestine, for medical aid for Palestinians, they raised more than £4,000 in that little local area. The Palestinian flag was also raised above Luton Town Hall. So this isn't just a group of minority rogue activists. This is supported and promoted by the Labour Party, the same Labour Party that is preparing to form a new government within the next few months in this country. Now, we're not really the biggest fans of the Tory government right now, but this is just a preview of what you're going to see if Labour gets into power, or when Labour gets into power. This is the Luton mayor, well, the council leader, whatever, and things are changing. Now, there's been a lot of reaction to this, of course. We had, for example, Tommy Robinson, who is a bit of a local boy, not being too happy about this. Tommy said, "Why is that piece of S flag flying from my town hall? Have you flown the Israeli flag in solidarity after the 7th of October? The Luton Labour Party, you've destroyed what was once a great town." Now, a lot of people then decided to attack Tommy. He didn't really say that he wants the Israeli flag to be flown. He was just making a point, saying that, well, did you do that for Israel? We've seen all the others. The hypocrisy you can clearly see. Now, one person decided to hit back, Gavin Bobby or whatever. "Hello, Tommy. Would you describe yourself as a traitor, or do you have some other explanation? The reason I ask is because you seemed so concerned with the interests of a foreign power, Israel. British soldiers made Israel possible. The dedication and sacrifice, no one else could have done it. And Israel would have remained a gleam in the eye without ordinary British servicemen risking and losing their lives for it. Israel repaid this priceless debt of gratitude by obviously targeting good British soldiers and arming our foreign enemies. Israel has never apologized for such hateful ingratitude. Are you okay with terrorists slaughtering British soldiers who had been helping them and protecting their creation of a homeland? From your claims, I would have thought you cared about the lives of British servicemen and opposed foreign hostility. This is absolutely fascinating. This left-wing mentality is the same thing when they bring up historic things. These are the same people who say, well, how can you be proud of Britain when we had the British Empire? 100 years ago, we did something bad. Ooh, naughty. Or, for example, Adolf did things in Germany. How can a German be proud of Germany? How can an Israeli be proud of Israel when some of the Israelis back in the day did some bad things? The obsession with the self-guilt of historic guilt is the problem, which is basically a poison spread around by the political left. And now our enemies, including Islamists, are taking advantage of this. Tommy Robinson wasn't going to be tolerant about this. He decided to respond to that post by saying this.
Gavin, to call me a traitor for calling out. You see, in my town, they've had a Ukrainian flag flying for months, yeah? I personally don't think any other flag should be flying other than ours. But if you know Luton, which you should and you do, you know it's been Islamically taken over. So the hypocrisy I was drawing was you wouldn't fucking dare do that, yeah? With an Israeli flag. Now, Palestine, governed by Hamas, who have already said that when they've wiped out Israel, they're coming straight for Europe and the Christians. That's their comments, not mine, yeah? Which is why it concerns me, yeah? Because if all those Islamic shitholes around Israel wipe off the face of the planet, watch them steamroll into Europe with their jihad. Because remember, you know their jihad has no boundaries, yeah? They want world domination, world caliphate, total control. So that's why, if you think it makes me a traitor to point out to Luton Borough Council, you cheeky bastards, you fly their flag, you fly the Palestine flag, and I was merely asking did you fly the Israeli one? Now, if ever there was a time to fly a country's flag, 1,400 women were kidnapped, raped, murdered. But you didn't decide to do it then, so why are you flying the Palestinian piece of shit from my council, where I live? That's the point I was making, Gav, yeah? Have a good day.
So you can see Tommy Robinson as diplomatic as ever with his choice of words. But I agree with him. It's a good point to be made. You didn't see this sort of outrage when it came to what happened on the 7th of October. Now, when you make a point, people say, so do you want the Israeli flag to be... We don't want any flag to be thrown anywhere. We just want the Union flag and the English flag in England. It's straightforward. But when it comes to solidarity, why is it that there's no consent, there's no public consent for this Palestinian cause in this country? Do an actual opinion poll, find out about it. Because that's not really the real situation in the country, outside of the London bubble and all these Labour local councils. That's not the real situation. And we have to talk about it, we have to call it out, because this is completely nonsense. It's dangerous times, of course. Well, now they conquered, let's go to the live chat. Then they should deal with the consequences. There's not going to be any consequences. We know that. Tartan Toker says we are going down fast. Probably, yep. And Jesse says, first time here. Greetings from Ulster. Well, welcome to 2CTV and the live chat, Jesse. Hope you enjoy the content. Young Conservative says, when I immigrated here to this country in 1997 as a child, I lived in Wolverhampton. I frequently heard Muslims talking about taking over the United Kingdom and destroy it. Now it's clear as day what they meant. Well, I mean myself, growing up in southeast London on a council estate in Lewisham, obviously the majority in terms of the demographic was still British people. You had white and black and everything else, but you were seeing the rise of the certain other ideologies in the name of course, the Islamic community coming up. And you even had the British black community also questioning it, saying, what are they talking about? But nobody took him seriously. Nobody took Tommy Robinson seriously 15 years ago when he was talking about this. They vilified him. And everybody else who talked about it saying, you're just exaggerating. Nothing is happening. Even right now, they are saying you're exaggerating. But you can see, ask those who actually came into this country as migrants and made themselves British and made this country their home, ask them. They know what you're going to see in this country, especially those who came from countries that went down. Perfect example, 1979 Iran. It was taken over. How is it going now? They were complacent. They didn't see it coming in 1978. They thought they had it good forever. Nope. Welcome to Luton, everybody. Yep. But there were warning signs before when it comes to Luton. Nobody did anything about it for years. LP says, anyone who is concerned about this but bitched about Tommy years ago needs to shut the F up and sit the F down. People are failing to realize this amount to planting the star and crescent flag. I mean, as I said, the current expansion of the Islamic ideology, which has been going on for centuries, then the new method is much easier because we have liberal secular societies, democratic societies. All you have to do is just have a lot of babies, have a lot of Islamic preachers in Islamic centers, convert a lot of people, encourage your own existing Islamic people. You become local councillors, you become local MPs, and you just take over and you just change laws and regulations and constitution. How are we going to stop that? That's the point. Are you going to go full-on authoritarian? Or are you going to remain liberal? Or are you going to find a solution? So far, there's no solution coming from the political establishment. Young Conservative also says, yes, Maya, I didn't understand what they meant because my family and I are from Jamaica and we don't talk like that. I know. I mean, that's the thing. When people say, why do you not have a problem with all cultures if you say that multiculturalism is bad? Firstly, the reason we criticize multiculturalism is as a concept. We're saying you need to make sure there's one main culture that's embraced by everybody. In any nation, any tribe. That's the reality. But this person is also spot on. That people from Poland, for example, or Jamaica, are not coming out publicly, directly, to actually tell you in your face that we want to change your constitution and we want to change the way you live your lives. Right now, there is one major group doing that. And again, although to call themselves Western moderate Muslims, they have to come out and speak out against it. Now, there have been a few, but not enough. Tony says wrong. Tommy had a lot of support when he first started telling the truth about Islam. So, okay, this is the problem. So I understand what Tony is trying to say, but this is a problem. So what Tony is saying, and I've spoken to Tommy about this, and he agrees with me. Even the peak Tommy days, well, let's just say late 2000s, even though early 2010s, you have the cult following, you have the actual grassroots. That's irrelevant. If I go out there right now, we have 424,000 subscribers right now. If I organize an event, a rally, with half of you, 200,000, does that mean now I have full-on influence and support and respect by everybody, including the establishment? Of course not. Now, Tommy was organizing rallies, tens of thousands, a lot of people came. When he was still being vilified, that means he didn't really have the actual influence or support. He wasn't listened to, he wasn't heard. They completely crushed him. Doesn't matter if a few people like Tony were supporting him. Everybody else was ignoring him because the media was telling you, don't listen to Tommy. He's a villain. The political establishment banned him. That's the reality. So he was still ignored, despite the following that he himself had as a grassroots. Bartlett says, yes, this is the equivalent to raising an Islamic flag because the Palestinian flag is just a variation of the pan-Arab colors, true, which represent the battle flags of the first three. But I mean, let's not forget, the color red is the representative of martyrdom and obviously blood. The parts of the black part of it is the flag of Islam, of course. So that doesn't really change much. And now, of course, when it comes to the green, it was supposed to be Muhammad, but the Shias took over that color. So the green is now associated with the Shias, even though Palestinians are not Shia. It's a very confusing situation when it comes to the division inside the Islamic ideology as well. But they're also not as united as you think they are. They're just more aggressive. So all you need is a few of them in each local council to take over. If people were just having their own individual private faiths and keeping it individual, I don't care. Just keep it to yourself. Go to your home and do whatever you want to do. But when you're trying to impose it on everybody else, this is where we have a problem. Even if tomorrow you have a bunch of Jews coming out to say we have to change the constitution of this country to bring more Judaism into it, I'm going to have a problem with it as well. This is supposed to be Church of England was supposed to be technically the church here, despite obviously still having Catholics. But Church of England is not really the protector of Christianity anymore when it comes to the constitution, when it comes to the actual institution that protects our values. Jackson says, Maya, I do not enjoy your channel anymore. Oh, that's a shame. My heart breaks whenever I tune in to see how Britain has fallen. I will keep watching and supporting your work. Oh, thank God for that. Thank you, Jackson. Scared me. It's not my fault that the situation is bad. We have to talk about it. Would you rather if I just talk about I don't know, some sort of flying puppies every day with rainbows and ice cream? That would be nice, but that wouldn't really help, unfortunately. Flying puppies. Civic Defence UK, thank you so much for your super chat. Saying, what is this? Civic Defence UK has just granted royal descent to police under, the Civic Act. Thanks for that. What's this? Philip says, look at who's got the top jobs in politics in the UK. Wishy-washy Rishi. Bums up bums. Of all the nicknames that we have for Holmes Yusuf, which is basically useless, that's a good one in Scotland and getting in Wales as well. Today we had Sir Keir Starmer visiting Wales to say hi to his new Welsh leader, and of course completely ignorant about what the Labour Party have done in Wales over the years. And the funny thing about this is that now you have the Tory party on social media today, because they have to attack Labour somehow, despite the fact that they've been in power for 14 years themselves. They are pointing out all the problems with the Welsh Labour government, rightly so. But it's funny because every single thing the Tory government is focusing on when it comes to the Welsh Labour government, like that doesn't work, this doesn't work, it's the same stuff that is not working across the UK. I mean, it's pot kettle stupid at this point. The whole thing is stupid. Both parties are attacking each other based on things that they're also failing. It's not this. The problem is not just that both parties are similar anymore. The problem is that they're both making the same mess and pointing at the other one. They think we're stupid. Well, clearly we are, because the majority of the country is still going to vote blue and red next time, unless things continue, because Reform UK is technically replacing the Tories as the second largest party. But Reform UK also managed to do it by presenting themselves as basically a secondary Tory party. They're not really that radical. They're not really rogue. They're not going to ban the Islamic immigration, for example. In fact, they did a post earlier saying we need to save our NHS. That came from Reform UK, not the Labour Party, not the Tory Party. Reform UK, save our NHS. What? They're all doing the same thing. They all have to play the mainstream game in order to gain support, because they're scared of losing votes. Paul says, I'm afraid for my children, grandchildren, and the generations that will follow me. England was so different when I was growing up. Please, my friends, let's wake up. Again, I know that each generation, we all become doom and gloomy. We look at the past. It was better. But genuinely, there will be times throughout history, like now, that you can foresee a very, very dark situation. The way it's going within the next, let's just be generous, the next 20, 30 years. Let's just be generous, 30 years. This country will completely change. Now you're saying it's already changing, but that's why I'm being generous, saying 30 years from now, you could actually have the Islamic constitution. You could actually have, that's what I think they're trying to, the system itself, they're trying to go with what we call globalism and globalization of the world in order to prevent extremism, radicalism, right? They want to make sure that we basically say goodbye to individual national sovereignties and national entities to be ruled by international entities, and instead. But their argument, if someone was sitting here on behalf of the globalists, they would make an argument, the pseudo-intellectuals, they would say, yeah, but we're doing this for all of us. We're doing this to prevent rise of Marxism or rise of Islamism or rise of what they call far right. But surely you could just promote individual sovereignty and nationalism for each country while still cooperating on an international stage. Do whatever you want to do. Why do you think the solution is to destroy sovereignty in order to prevent the next Adolf or the next Muhammad or whatever? That's a crazy solution. These people are control freaks. They're just using it as an excuse to create this new globalist consensus, which is already basically happening anyway. The current world order since the 40s and 50s. Barron says the entire political establishment, dating back to the time of Tony Blair and including all members of the current Houses of Parliament, should be jailed for treason for allowing this to happen. Well, because, I mean, it's not really jailed for treason. I know it's out of frustration we say this, but they did all this democratically. The problem is we allowed it to happen. Why are we blaming them? It was us, the public, that gave consent to all these parties and party leaders every single election. Every single person, all of us that voted, red or blue, and we were okay with all the prime ministers, Blair, Brown, Theresa May, everyone. They didn't do anything illegal because they got the consent from us. We didn't complain about it. We, the masses, throughout the last 20 years. Some people did, but not everybody, not enough. You don't blame anybody. Politics and the state of politics, politicians, is a mirror held at the people themselves in each country throughout centuries. Twisted Tiara says, speaking of sovereignty, what is happening with the Scandemic Treaty that the corrupted WEF wants our pathetics to sign? So this is the world, not WEF, the World Health Organization, WHO, backed by WEF, obviously. WHO's obviously treaty. It's still ongoing. There are some clashes, of course, between some of the governments in terms of the details of the pandemic treaty. The point of this is that it doesn't really matter if it's going to be this version or the next version, even if they have to water it down on the surface. They're still going to find a way to accelerate the globalist system. And people use the words globalist agenda. It makes you sound like, oh, are you going to be a conspiracy theorist? It's the plan for the globalized world. It's the new system. The whole point of the European Union, the whole point of international entities, the international courts being more visible is part of the world order that we've had since the 40s and 50s. They do it, they tell us they're doing it to prevent national rivalries and what happened in 1914, for example, or even 1938-39. They're trying to prevent that, and they're trying to prevent any sort of extremism, nationalism or communism, by just creating faceless bureaucracy for every single person. Yeah, but who's going to hold them to account? But they are also very good at propaganda. The whole point of the European Union became they are not democratic. They are not accountable at best, let alone they could be corrupt at times. You would think that normal people, including some of the well-meaning liberals, you would think they would ask questions throughout the years. That can we hold them to account? No, they are very good at propaganda. They found a way to work around it, to sell the EU as a concept to you as, oh, it's just a family of friendly neighbors in Europe. We're just people. It's nothing to do with people, the European Union. They take pictures of all the random European citizens, put them on the walls of the European Parliament, saying, this is it. All the ordinary citizens of Europe, all families and neighbors. No. The people inside that building are a bunch of bureaucrats who've not been even elected. They're not the ordinary citizens of Europe because the citizens of Europe don't have any say about what's going on in Brussels or Strasbourg. But they managed to, for years and years, to continue that propaganda, saying if you criticize the European Union, you're against European people because that building is representative of the European families. Oh, shut up. It's still doing it. If you criticize the World Health Organization, you hate public health. If you criticize the United Nations, you basically hate stability in the world. It's insane. If you criticize the Chinese Communist Party, you're against our cooperation with our friends in Beijing, according to Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak. It's insanity. What's going on with you guys? Let's go back to you guys. Getting thirsty. All right. No, it's not time for whiskey yet. Those are asking, it's just water. I don't want to see a Palestine flag anywhere. I mean, I don't want to see any sort of foreign flag in any of our public buildings. It doesn't matter what flag, whether it's the French flag or Canadian flag, or the Israeli flag or the Palestinian flag. These are public buildings. Stop that nonsense. Stealth says this country will only fall if us, the Brits, let it. We need to stand together and fight back. That's exactly what I've been saying. You know, you can feel free to blame the prime ministers and the parties and all this and the establishment. We, the people, allowed this to happen. Who do you blame for the fall of the Roman Empire? Are you going to blame the Roman establishment, or are you going to blame the Roman people who become complacent and chaos happened? Complacency allows those who are complicit in crimes to actually do it, or whether you want to call it crime or not, because they're doing it democratically. But whatever, I mean, apart from, for example, the invasion of Iraq. But most of the stuff that we're talking about, the constitutional changes since Blair and Brown and everybody else, creation of Supreme Court, they did this because nobody complained. That's a problem. Anyway, let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about another group of nutters, Just Stop Oil activists, who decided to target the Labour HQ in Exeter. And we're also going to talk about Emmanuel Macron asking Putin for help. I know, it's getting beautiful. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You've been watching 2C TV. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.